Okay, everybody has to sign their roster as it goes around, remember? Even Cody Jr. And they're descendants of Buffalo Bill Cody, and they have a lot to share with us. Thank you.
Before we start, I would like to welcome our youngest this evening. Thanks for coming. This is a very interesting part of our history. I think you'll enjoy it. Hey, I'm Bill Cody.
I'm Bill Cody too.
Really? That's interesting. Are you related to Wild Bill?
Actually, I'm not related to Wild Bill. That was Wild Bill Hickok. I'm related to Buffalo Bill Cody, William F. Cody. He was born in 1846, died in 1917, and that's our namesake.
Huh. So why are we here again? Oh, no, I'm just kidding. Well, great. And where are we on the genealogy tree?
We've got a chart here. A lot of people claim to be relatives, but we really are. And our family goes back to 1640s, having come over from France. This goes back into the early 1800s. A fellow named Philip. 5 guys directly down is green dot, Bill. Blue dot, me. And we go up over this way, 1 brother, 1 son, Buffalo Bill right here. Fairly straightforward. Lots of chains of families and other, but these are the male descendancy.
Okay, let's get started. Tell everybody about the Buffalo Bill era.
Well, 1846, middle of last century to early this century. Interesting era, and a lot of things happened. We'll talk about that a little bit. Like I said, he was born in 1846, 1917, so we bridged the next century. And a lot of his life had to do with bridging the Old West and the New World, so to speak. And that's kind of the era we're going to be covering. We'll be doing it sort of in chunks of 10 years of his life, so 20 and below, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and so on. And we'll sort of identify some things that he did at those various ages, and I think you'll find it interesting.
Wow, what a time to have lived. The building of the Transcontinental Railroad, the telegraph, the Civil War, the telephone, the invention of the light bulb, the phonograph, motion pictures, skyscrapers, the automobile, the airplane, the admissions of Iowa, Texas, California, Oregon, and Washington as states, the Mexican border wars. His life bridged the Wild West and the huge changes in industry, technology, and culture. Even baseball began during that period.
All right, so I'm going to cover the period between birth to 19, and the list is long. It's amazing. If you can imagine, 19 and under, all these things happened or occurred with this fellow. Younger days, he was named Will, not Buffalo Bill. The name came much later. Very difficult life, farming. Family operated a small store. His father was one of the first anti-slavery folks speaking out against slavery, and was in fact criticized pretty roundly for that. He was in fact stabbed in a public meeting for saying some comments against slavery, which left Buffalo Bill Cody, the head of his family at age 11, and he had 5 sisters. So dad has died, young man has to be the head of the family and figure out a way to make money for the family. So he did a number of things. He was a messenger, taking messages around on horseback, a wagon driver for bringing people around and supplies, cattle herder, a trapper. He served in the Civil War. This is all under 20 now. He was a scout as a citizen for the Army. Taught himself to read and write. Was involved in the border wars. got married to a woman named Luisa Frederici at age 19. And one of the big things that you read a lot about, which was a very short span of time, was he rode in the Pony Express. This was right before the rails attached to both ends of the country and right before the telegraph was invented. And they would run messages by horseback between stations. And the Pony Express was operated between Kansas and California. It had 190 little stations, so the riders would ride to one, get on another horse, ride to another, and so on and so forth. And at one point when he was 14, he rode 322 straight miles, here to Chicago basically, non-stop, full speed, horse to horse to horse to horse to horse. Took him 22 hours, straight riding the horse. Amazing. He was said to have carried some Abe Lincoln messages in some of those rides as well. Buffalo Bill was kind of a bigger-than-life person. He really identified with the Indians, although fought against in the wars, really became to know the ways of the Indians during his life. He, in fact, joined the 7th Cavalry, 7th Kansas Volunteers for the Union Army for 3 years, and that was at age 17 and 18. And really, the Kansas 7th Volunteers were an anti-slavery group, and he fought for that cause during that period of time. So a lot to have happened between before you're 20 years old.
The period I'm talking about was in his 20s, which is about 1864 to 1875. Again, he was a scout. He kept going back to scouting because he was so good at it, and the Army treasured his knowledge because he knew where things were, and he had a great feel for guiding and making sure that the troops were safe and going in the proper direction. So this was a big factor in his life, the scouting. He also got involved as a buffalo hunter, and he did that working for the railroad. The railroad had 600 men that needed to be fed, and they were building a railroad across the United States. And so they had to be fed. And what was the best source of food? The buffalo. Now I must tell you that Buffalo Bill did not kill all the buffalo. Some people allege that was the case. That is not the case. He got this name of Buffalo Bill when another hunter challenged him to a day of hunting. So they went out and they went hunting and they shot buffalo during the day. Buffalo Bill got 69. The other guy got 46. Hence, Buffalo Bill. That was how the name came up. Back to guiding again and scouting. He did some miraculous things. He always volunteered for the toughest job. The general would have some problem and he'd say, I need someone to go over there and do something, deliver a message or whatever, and Buffalo Bill would say, I'm going to do it. He'd go off and do it, and had these huge, prodigious rides with Indians in the area and fighting for his life. In 1972, when he was working with the 5th Cavalry, which is one that he served man?
1872.
Oh, 1970.
2007.
2007, no, 1872.